When news broke recently that India struck a massive gas reserve in the Andaman Sea, specifically at the Vijayapuram 3 well, people naturally got excited. The immediate assumption is that finding fuel means our energy problems are instantly solved. But if oil and natural gas are so incredibly valuable, it raises a simple question. Why don't countries just drill everywhere to guarantee their energy independence? Imagine someone tells you there might be a gold coin buried somewhere under your house. You wouldn't rip up every square meter of your foundation to look for it. The same logic applies to the ocean floor. A single offshore exploration well can cost over $100 million. If you drill randomly and fail, which is highly likely, you're incinerating enormous amounts of wealth. Poking holes in the seabed without a plan is a guaranteed path to bankruptcy. The quest for energy is a highly calculated multi-billion-dollar game of geological roulette. To even play that game, oil companies have to look back millions of years. They are searching for the first vital ingredient, ancient source rock. This is made entirely of dead microscopic plankton, algae, and marine organisms that settled at the bottom of prehistoric oceans and were buried under sediment. Over geological timescales, the Earth applies brutal heat and crushing pressure to this organic matter. That combination literally bakes those ancient life forms into liquid oil and natural gas. Once formed, those liquids migrate upward until they hit what is called reservoir rock. Think of this layer like a sponge full of microscopic cavities where hydrocarbons pool. Because oil and gas are lighter than water, they float upward. You need a geological trap, an impermeable seal shaped like an upside-down bowl that blocks the fuel from escaping. Ultimately, a commercially viable field only exists when ancient biological death, extreme planetary pressure, and perfect subterranean architecture all align. Finding these perfect conditions presents an immediate engineering problem. Humans cannot directly see 3 kilometers below the ocean floor to locate these invisible geological bowls. The solution is a technique called seismic surveying. It operates on the exact same concept as shouting in a dark cave to listen to the echoes, just executed at a massive industrial scale. Ships blast intense sound waves deep into the Earth's crust. Those waves bounce off the different rock layers hidden below, and the sensory equipment records the returning echoes. Computers process that data to generate a detailed 3-dimensional image of the planet's internal structure, almost like an ultrasound for the Earth. This acoustic map is what finally gives energy companies enough confidence to point at a specific spot in the ocean and decide it's worth risking billions to drill a test hole. That test is called an exploration well. This is the stage where the hypothetical acoustic models meet the physical reality of the seabed. More often than not, crews drill through miles of rock beneath them, only to find nothing but salt water. This is exactly why the recent activity in India's Andaman Basin caught so much attention. Out of 3 wells drilled there, 2 found gas, a highly unusual 66% success rate that hints at the region's massive underlying potential. But a successful strike is only step 1. The news will report a major discovery, but finding hydrocarbons is completely different from having a usable supply. That requires a rigorous secondary phase called appraisal. Geologists need to know if they found a small puddle or a massive underground lake. They drill several surrounding wells from different angles to measure the volume of the pocket, the chemical quality, and the specific pressure. All this data feeds into the final hurdle, commerciality. Companies have to calculate if the market value of the appraised fuel outstrips the brutal costs of deep-water extraction and building offshore infrastructure. A newly discovered reservoir holding 100 million barrels sounds massive. But if the geology is too hostile and the extraction costs exceed what the fuel can be sold for, the field will simply be abandoned. If the numbers do make sense, the project enters the field development phase. This is an engineering marathon that requires billions of dollars and up to a full decade to design the actual offshore platforms, production wells, and storage terminals. Once production finally begins, the raw resources are pulled from the earth and pushed toward land. For natural gas, this often involves supercooling it into a liquid and loading it onto specialized tankers, or pumping it through high-pressure subsea pipelines. But raw crude oil, or unrefined gas, is practically useless in its natural state. It has to be sent to a refinery, where it is subjected to fractional distillation, a process that systematically heats and separates the raw materials into their specific chemical components. From there, the output is fractured into a vast distribution network, shipping out as petrol, diesel, jet fuel, and the crucial base elements used in heavy manufacturing. The moment you dispense fuel into your vehicle, you are tapping into the final endpoint of a global system that required a decade of planning and billions of dollars in infrastructure just to deliver that single liter. This supply chain creates massive geopolitical vulnerabilities. India currently relies on a single small nation, Qatar, for roughly 40% of its imported natural gas, while holding only a 60-day strategic reserve for its own population. That severe exposure is why nations are pursuing alternative technologies. By investing in methods like coal gasification, which extracts synthetic gas directly from domestic coal reserves, countries are trying to bypass the vulnerable global market and achieve true energy independence. Yet, even with alternatives advancing, these hydrocarbons remain the primary chemical feedstock for most modern industry. They are the unavoidable base materials required for global plastics, agricultural fertilizers, and pharmaceuticals. Every single drop of fuel is the culmination of millions of years of geological luck, years of blind acoustic mapping, and billions of dollars of high-stakes engineering. Thanks for watching.